Hey, welcome to the Badass Breastfeeding Podcast. This is Dianne, your lactation consultant.
And I'm Abby, the Badass Breastfeeder. And today's episode is brought to you by Fairhaven Health. If you love lactation tea but hate the taste, Nursing Time Tea is right for you. And today's episode is also brought to you by the Dairy Fairy, making ingenious intimates for mama's milk. And we'll hear more from our sponsors after Dianne reviews our review of the week.
Yes, our review of the week today is from Jillian HB, and she said that this is just what I needed. Your episode today, which was When You Don't Love Breastfeeding, was exactly what I needed to hear today. My son is 4 months old, and the past few weeks I've been wondering why I don't love this. All I've ever heard from other moms is how it's such a great bonding experience and the great oxytocin high they get, and I'm over here like, yeah, nope, never felt that. Honestly, I don't understand the hype at all. I do it because I know it's the best thing for him, and hey, it saves money. But other than that, I've never looked forward to it, never once felt the urge to take a picture of myself nursing, and even though we haven't had any real issues, I can't wait to feel like I have my body back to myself again. Listening to your episode today confirmed my hunch that I am not alone. While I am so happy for moms who have this warm, fuzzy, mushy, gushy, lovey-dovey experience with breastfeeding, it's so nice to hear that I'm not the only one who's just like, it's fine. I appreciate your podcast so much for bringing to light the parts of breastfeeding that not everyone likes to talk about. I hope there are some expectant moms who will listen and know that they aren't crazy if they don't fall in love with breastfeeding. Just keep up the good work. And I think that's really great. If you haven't listened to that episode, it was only a couple of weeks ago, but this is exactly what we wanted with that episode. We wanted moms to realize that you're not alone, and these are things nobody talks about. So thank you so much, because that had to be a really difficult thing to even put out there. So,
yeah, it's a difficult thing to feel. And you're like, I don't like this when everybody else likes it.
Right.
Yeah, it's so true, and you're not alone. I remember having those feelings.
Oh my gosh, yes.
And it might get better, and it might not.
But you can send us reviews. We would love it. We love getting them. We love hearing what episodes you like. We, love all that stuff, and we want to pick you to be our review of the week.
Yes, and the reviews are on iTunes.
iTunes, yes.
We pick from iTunes, right? Yeah.
Yep. So what are we going to talk about today?
We're going to talk about pumping and traveling. So traveling, traveling with your breast milk, what to do when you're gone, how to prepare, all these things. This is when I was kind of looking around for information about this. This is something that can go on and on and on and on and on. And there's so much information. There's so many unique situations. But we'll try our best to cover kind of the basics. Like TSA.
Everybody's best friend when you're traveling.
I know, right? Especially when you've got a big cooler boob juice.
Oh, God.
You're like, here I come. I got my breast milk. Hi, TSA.
Oh, God.
And they're like, oh, sometimes they know, and sometimes they're like, what?
Oh, man.
You need to dump that out. No,
you
don't.
No, you don't. You can fight with them. Don't let them x-ray it. Oh, my God. But we'll get into that when we talk about the TSA stuff for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we were talking about this kind of thing, not in great detail, but kind of like, just a little bit at breastfeeding support group this past week, because one of the moms was talking about like, traveling and taking a trip and, by car. And, and then it's like, you have to bring all these things, and do I have all this stuff, and how often am I going to have to stop? And, all those things that you think about when you're traveling with a baby. And one of the moms was saying that he's about 6 months, just turning 6 months old, and she has one that's like 4. And they had to go to another state for a family wedding. So there's other family members going. And she goes that it was one of those situations where we were like, we could fly or we could drive. Which one should we do? Either one is a little bit difficult, but in the end, they decided to drive, and then they could just stop and breastfeed and, whatever, take breaks and stuff like that. And it took a little longer, but that's what they decided to do. And she goes, and I'm really glad we did that, because my sister flew, and the plane was late, and then when they were coming back, they got delayed, and then they couldn't get on until the next day. And then she finally got on the plane, and there was a person sitting behind her that had a therapy cat. And the therapy cat was crying the whole way and puking. I'm like,
oh my God.
I don't think it was a therapy cat. If the cat is supposed to be a therapy cat and couldn't handle the plane ride, more so than the owner. And then it really stunk really bad because the cat kept puking. Like, it was this whole ordeal. She goes, I don't know what I would have done on that flight with my kids. And we were like, oh my God, like that sounds like a horrible experience. And I think it would have been terrible with a baby on there as well. But it is really difficult to know, like, how do I travel? You know, like it's hard with babies, with breast milk. If you don't have your baby with you and you have to travel and you have to pump and bring it back, like, what do you do? There's so many questions. Don't bring your therapy cat. Yeah.
Yeah, don't.
Don't bring your therapy cat with you.
Well, so, yeah, I mean, flying is a nightmare. And, like, just security is, like, a nightmare. And then you're with a baby and your pump and your breast milk and, you know, so it's just difficult stuff. But so it also, I mean, I think, first of all, it depends on, like, why are you traveling? Right. Are you traveling because of work? Are you traveling for fun? You know, are you going to have your baby or not? And the focus of today's episode is really about pumping. So we're speaking more about the times when you don't have your baby with you. But so if you're going to, when you start off on this, you know, parenting journey, talk to if you're traveling for work, talk to your employer as early as possible. Like right when you get pregnant. You know, if you travel for your job, let them know that you are a breastfeeding parent and that you will be pumping when you're gone. You know, so that they can, you know, they'll just know, so that they know that this is going to be part of, you know, how this trip is going to go.
Right.
And that you're going to need certain things. You know, one of the things you can request if you're being sent to a conference or something is to stay in the hotel where the conference is located. And generally people do this, or at least as close as possible, because then you can be going up to the room and doing your pumping there. Right. So that's easiest. But you're also free to pump wherever you want. And you can bring your pump wherever you want. You can ask the hotel if there's like a private room off of the, you know, the conference room or something. Or you can pump in the conference. Yeah. I feel like, you know, breastfeeding in public is, you know, that's a right, and it's something that everyone's kind of like pushing to do and trying to. We don't ever talk about pumping in public.
No, we don't.
But you know what? You can. And if you don't want, you know, people to see your little nipple being sucked back and forth in the flange, which is like something that I think I would not want. But I mean, you know, if you don't care, then you don't care. But you can just use a blanket or a cover or something like that.
I mean, I was at granted it was a breastfeeding conference, but there was a woman at this conference that was hand expressing in the conference.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, that takes definitely a certain level of comfort, because you're still, I mean, regardless of the breastfeeding conference, nobody's going to, you know, shun you, but there's still a lot of people there. But that she was like, do you guys care if I hand express? And we're like, no, you know, and she's like, good, you know, and it's definitely more quiet than a pump. But you could also like have the covers and stuff too, or sit in the back of the room.
Sure.
You know, if you need to do that.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So, you know, you're going to have to, you know, and this is a good thing to talk about before you leave. You know, get this kind of straight. Find out, you can go on the internet, find out what hotel you're staying at, call them. You know, you're going to have to call them too, because you're going to want to request a little mini refrigerator to be in your room. Because you're going to need to have the milk in a refrigerator. And a lot of the stuff that we're talking about too is going to depend on how long you're gone for. Ideally, you don't want to be gone for more than like 4 days, because then you're going to run into the whole issue of like having to freeze the milk.
Yeah. Yep.
Which is going to be hard too, because then you take it out of the freezer and then you're going to the airport and time's a ticking. Depending, you know, you can have a really good cooler, but you know, still if it's not in a freezer, it's going to start melting.
Now, there are some jobs or some companies that will pay to have you ship your milk.
Yes. Well, I was going to say that too.
Oh, good. Okay, good. Then we'll talk about that when you get to that one.
So, yeah, well, but I mean, yeah. So but this is good because we haven't left for our trip yet. So this is something you want to think about too. If you are going for if you're gone less than 4 days, and Diane, you can jump in here and just tell me if I'm wrong. Because I don't have the breast milk storage guidelines in front of me. Okay. And I don't know if you do, but you might have them in your brain.
They're in my brain. Yeah.
Okay. So if you're gone for less than 4 days, your milk is fine in the refrigerator. Right?
You can even do like 5 or 6 in the refrigerator.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Yeah,
there you go.
Fine. Yeah.
So that'll be, in the refrigerator. And then you got this night. You want to have a good cooler with lots of the little ice block. Mm-hmm. What are those called?
Yeah. Like the
insert, the freezer insert.
Is there a real name for those things?
Ice pack. Ice pack.
Okay. Yeah. One of those.
Or the gel pack. Some of them come with gel packs, whatever.
Yep.
You want a lot of those. So you want to find out how long you're going to be gone. And if it's less than this 5 or 6 days, then it's fine with keeping your milk real cold. Mm-hmm. If you're going to be gone longer than that, then you're going to want to figure out how you're going to get your milk frozen, because it's going to need to be frozen at that point. So like Diane was saying, you can check with your employer, and sometimes they will cover shipping.
Mm-hmm. To have it shipped back, yeah.
Or if you're going to bring it, then you're going to have to then figure out, if you're gone for longer than that, you're going to have to figure out how, to get it back frozen.
Yeah.
So if you're not shipping it, then you have to carry it frozen.
Yeah, then you'd have to figure something out. I did have a mom once who cleared it with the hotel to put it in their freezer. To put her milk in their freezer. So you could always do that. And she said it was kind of awkward because they would send this young guy up to pick up her
the
milk.
bellboy,
yeah, to pick up her milk or whatever, and she would just give it to, she put it in a bag or whatever. I don't know what she did with it, and they froze it for her. And then when she flew home, it was not, it didn't completely thaw, obviously, when she flew home. So she was able to just pop it in her freezer when she came home. And that was a great way to do it too.
And I think that's a good point too, is if it's thawed and it's still slushy, you can still put it back in the freezer.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. If it's completely defrosted, then you don't want to refreeze it.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's kind of what they say, but yeah.
If there's a little bit of ice chunks left in there, throw it back in the freezer, you're fine. Put it back in the
freezer. Yep. But don't throw it away. Put it in bath water or something. Do something with it.
Yeah.
Dry ice too.
Yes, that's what they'll use if they're shipping it frozen. They'll use dry ice. I mean, if you want to get your hands on some dry ice, I don't know. I don't know how you do that.
I mean, I think you can get it even at shipping places. Okay. If you're just in if you're in a city somewhere, I'm sure they've got some shipping, stores or something. But if you don't have the freezer ice packs with you,
right,
you can do that too.
Yeah, dry ice will work, and you can wrap the milk in paper. I read there was recommended to wrap it in paper if you're using dry ice. Take the bag or the bottle or whatever you're using and just put a piece of newspaper around it. Just helps protect it from the dry ice.
Oh, that's cool.
And I also, you can use, depending on how much you're carrying around, bring a bunch of storage bags rather than bottles, because they're easier, they'll fit more. You'll be able to bring more that way if you kind of lay them flat.
Yeah.
And it'll be more compact than just all these big honking bottles everywhere. And then again, before you leave, it's also a good idea to have a manual pump on hand in case something happens to your pump, or even better, get really good at hand expressing. Mm-hmm. Because, there could be a power outage. There can be all these things. You never know what's going to happen. Pump parts break. Speaking of pump parts, make sure you have spare parts.
Yes.
And thing that I suggest is one of the times that you're pumping, look around you and see what you have. Make a list, a complete list of even the tiniest thing. Your pump, your storage bags, your replacement valves, every single little thing that you need to bring with you, and just have that list so that you can, double check everything before you leave. Because you can try to organize the things in your brain, but if your brain is like mine, you're going to forget something.
Yeah. I mean, luckily, those things are small, and it's easy to just stick stick them in your luggage or whatever.
Yeah, stick them in the pump bag.
They're tiny. Yeah, it's not like it takes up much space to carry an extra set with you.
Right. And, you can even do a practice run, kind of practice packing everything, see how much room it takes up. Now, there seems to be some conflicting things with TSA about whether they're going to count your pump bag as a carry-on. It seems to be that they will count it as a carry-on, but you're going to want to check with the exact airline that you're flying with, whether they're going to count that as a carry-on. So before you leave too, you're going to want to build up, if you're leaving your baby and you're going somewhere, you're going to want to don't start pumping the day before you leave to build up some, the stash you need for when you're gone.
Yeah.
Plan ahead. You want to know like a few weeks in advance so you can just start adding like an extra pumping session in. And then you'll build it up slowly. You won't have to stress about it.
Right, absolutely.
So, are we ready to go?
Never.
Are we ready to take off in the plane or in the car?
Gosh.
So how are you getting there? Are you going to fly or are you going to drive? You want to know this stuff. Obviously you will know, but it's going to be a little bit different. Driving is you don't have to go through anybody else. You don't have to go through TSA when you're driving. But a lot of times with like business trips, you're flying.
There's a lot of great, like some of the bigger airports now have lactation rooms, which is really nice because if it's going to be maybe a longer flight or maybe you just got off a flight and you've got a longer layover, you can pump in between. So those, that is really, really good. So you could even check into that with the airport, like Google the airport and, look at it online and stuff and see, do they have a lactation room? Because they absolutely might. And that would be
there's a couple of apps actually. There's the Mom's Pump Here. Oh, awesome. And Mamava, Mava. Those are two apps that you can get that will locate pumping rooms for you.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, so that's pretty awesome. And then, if you're taking an airplane or whatever you're doing, make sure you pump like right before you leave. Mm-hmm. So then you got some time. And then you can pump again before you get on the plane. Or if you're driving, you can pump in the car if you're not the one driving. You can pump when you're driving, but you're going to have to stop and,
that's too
hook
much
yourself up.
Yeah.
That's a lot. But you're going to want to kind of keep on that schedule. Even put alarms on your phone for like every 2 hours or whatever, whenever your baby would normally nurse, because when you're traveling, time will escape you.
Oh yeah.
And you'll be like, oh my gosh, it's been 4 hours. I'm starting to get uncomfortable. There's no place to pump, try to stick on your schedule. And then if you have those little alarms, time won't get away from you. TSA. So here we are. We're at the airport. We're going in through security. So you are allowed to bring breast milk through security. This is, there's been incidents. There are not very many where people have been told they're not allowed to bring that through, that they have to dump it out. This is not true. One of my biggest suggestions is and I'm going to put this link on the website, the TSA guidelines on our resources page. Go there, print it out, and have it with you when you're going through TSA. It's all about, being allowed to bring breast milk through security.
Yep. And we will hear more about that after a word from our sponsors.
Today's episode is brought to you by the Dairy Fairy, making ingenious intimates for mama's milk. Do you love wearing sexy lingerie? Is your lingerie sitting in the back of your drawer now that you're breastfeeding? Wouldn't it be awesome if you could wear those sexy intimates and have it be comfortable and functional for your new role? The Dairy Fairy is making all of our dreams come true. Now you can wear that lingerie that you love and be comfortable while you are breastfeeding or pumping hands-free. No need to switch bras or attach contraptions to pump in peace. This bra multitasks as much as you do. The Dairy Fairy collection covers sizes up to 44H. And get this, badasses, just for you, the Dairy Fairy is offering 10% off and a free pair of matching panties when you purchase the Ayla bra in black. That's AYLA. So head to thedairyfairy.com. Use promo code BADASS for 10% off. Put your size choice of panties into the comments section and you will get a free pair of matching panties when you purchase the Ayla bra in black. And today's episode is also brought to you by Fairhaven Health. Do you love lactation tea but hate the taste? Often nursing teas can taste earthy, which is a nice way of saying dirt. Fairhaven Health Nursing Time Tea is a caffeine-free, all-natural herbal lactation tea with a light lemon taste that you won't need to choke down. Nursing Time Tea is made with herbs such as fennel seed, goat's rue, and blessed thistle that have been used for centuries to support healthy milk supply and soothe an upset tummy. All ingredients are high quality, organic, wild crafted, and contain no preservatives or additives. Nurture yourself and your milk supply with Nursing Time Tea. It can be made hot or cold, which is awesome for when you forget about it. It's a great way to maintain your hydration while supporting your milk supply. Head to fairhavenhealth.com. That is FARHAVENHEALTH.com and use promo code BADASS for 10% off of your purchase. And all of these links and all of these promo codes that you just heard can be found at our website, badassbreastfeedingpodcast.com, along with a huge list of resources for you, all of our other episodes, and information about scheduling your lactation consultation with Dianne.
So TSA can be a traveling nightmare. And I don't know if this is on your list to talk about, but I did have somebody that told me that they made her open her bottles of milk so that they could put some kind of test strip inside it to make sure it wasn't like radioactive or who knows, a bomb. I don't know. I don't know. But that is awful.
That is, yes. And that they are not supposed to do that.
No.
They are not supposed, that is on my list, and they are not supposed to do that. They are not supposed to, so you have some options. They, hopefully will understand that they are not to open it. Sometimes they will ask you if it's okay to open it, pour a tiny bit into a separate container so that they can put the test strip in there. If you don't want them to open it at all, you have that right. And if somebody's giving you a hard time, always ask for a supervisor. Mm-hmm. You have the right for them to not open your breast milk. They might rub the outside of it. You know, when they do those little like test things to test for explosives, they'll rub it down. They might rub it on the side, you know. And then if you don't want it to be open at all, you might be pulled to the side. They might, you know, you will have to go through a more thorough security check, which might involve a pat down. But this is your right to not have your milk opened, or if you don't want it x-rayed.
Yeah.
You can just, if anybody's giving you a hard time, ask for a supervisor. Because listen, TSA is like not consistent at all.
Oh my God.
And you can go, it doesn't matter. I went to Washington, D.C. a few weeks ago, last month or whatever. I boarded an airplane in Chicago with a Swiss Army knife.
Yeah.
I got to Washington, D.C. I realized I had it and I went, holy moly, I just flew on an airplane with a Swiss Army knife. Okay. So I'm coming back in Washington, D.C. I'm coming back to Chicago. They pull me over and I go, oh, yeah, I do have that. I have that Swiss Army knife still on me. And, he's looking at it and I was like, yeah, I boarded a plane with that. And he went, wow. I was like, yeah. And he was like, I was like, I understand you have to take it. And he took it and he threw it away. But so, it's like, it's not consistent.
No, I had a TSA agent once take my Victoria's Secret lotion, which was full, but she told me it was too big, took it, but not my mace. Not my thing of mace that was on my keychain. So they are inconsistent for sure, but leave yourself time to just in case you do have to get a supervisor or something.
Yes. Get there early, and when you get up to the security thing and you're putting everything in the bins, put your milk in a separate bin. so that they're not like, and it's not at all, it's not subjected to the whole 3 ounces rule either. Right. You can bring any amount through. You put it in a separate bin, treat it like it's a completely separate thing, and let them know, there's always a guy or a gal, wow, it made me sound like there's always a human being who's coming to, the end, who's kind of like telling you to put stuff in a bin. Let that first person that you see know that you've got a breast pump and you've got breast milk, so they can know that you're coming.
Right. Definitely have the rules printed out off the TSA website.
Yeah, put that right on top of the bin. You got your little TSA rules right on top of the thing, so you can be that's like a signal to them that you know all of your rights and exactly what you're allowed to be doing here. So yeah, and it's a good idea to have the ice packs, the ice packs, the gel packs inside of your thing frozen solid. Mm-hmm. As if they're frozen solid, then they won't be freaking out about it.
Right.
So I already talked about the carry-on. You're going to check with your airline about that. If you are traveling by car, I know we're talking about an airplane, but if you are traveling by car, you can get plug-in coolers. Yeah. That are like in your car that will like stay cool. And you can get car adapter. There's certain pumps that have car adapters for your car too.
Yeah, that's cool too when you can do that.
And so let's see. You're gonna for as far as like washing when you're on the go and you've got your pump parts and they're really hard to wash, they do make these handy little sanitizing wipe things that you can use while you're, if you're in a airport, you don't have access to, a sink or, your dishwasher or whatever. You can use those.
That's a good point. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so you should be, depending too on how long your airplane ride is, you might need to pump on the plane, and that's fine.
Yeah.
You're allowed to pump in the plane, and you do not have to go to the bathroom unless you want to, although that's a very tiny place, and people will probably be knocking on the door. Do it in your seat. No one will know.
Yeah, nobody will know.
The person next to you will not even know. I mean...
And who cares?
And who cares? They don't care.
Yeah. I have had moms. I think this was really cool. I have had some moms who did have to travel for a few days or whatever and did not feel the need to bring the milk home with them. Mm-hmm. Maybe it was an older baby and they were just like, pumping just to kind of get the milk out, whatever. And they would donate it to a local, milk sharing group or whatever.
Yeah.
In that area.
That's awesome.
Which I thought was, kind of a cool concept too. So if you're like, oh my gosh, I have to bring all this milk back, but I don't really need to because, I've got enough in my freezer at home or we're not going to be using it like that, then... Or if it's just too much of a bother to try to get it home with you, you can donate it while you're there. Find a local group, find a local La Leche League, something that will be more than happy to take your donated milk.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah. Yeah. And if you don't need to bring it back. Because sometimes you are just pumping to keep up your supply. Mm-hmm. And you don't necessarily need to bring it back.
Yeah.
But don't throw it away.
Oh my God, no.
Unless you have to. I mean, don't struggle with so much guilt. If you're in a situation, you're like, I have to go right now. I don't need to bring this. I need to just get rid of it. Dump it over your head or something. I know, sometimes you just need to let it go and you need to move on with your day.
Yeah. Yeah.
And because you're going to be stressed enough. And that's the other thing is stress will not make your milk supply go down, but it can make it difficult to have a letdown.
Yes.
And so they're always, you can go back to we just did the episode on tips to pump more milk. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of tips in there. I cannot stress to you enough hands-on pumping.
Oh my God, I know that's
the combination. Yes, the combination breast massage and breast compression to get as much milk out to really empty your breast. I cannot express that enough, how important that is. And there's also in that episode a lot of tricks about like how to get, how to get a letdown, if you're in a situation where you're a little bit stressed, helping yourself calm down with some deep breathing, look at pictures of your baby.
I mean, it's hard to be away from your baby.
Oh, God.
So, I mean, you might find it whereas at home you were pumping fine, you might find it really difficult, especially if you're like, under work pressures. Maybe you're even sharing a hotel room with somebody, like that might cause you a lot of stress. And just knowing that you're not there with the baby, and maybe you could FaceTime with the baby and, with your partner or whoever's watching the baby while you're pumping or something like that. Use technology for what it's supposed to be meant for.
Right. Yeah, you're already using this amazing pump. I mean, it's amazing the things they've done with pumps these days.
Oh my God, I know.
And get on the phone. Just be a real 2019.
Yeah, absolutely.
Badass. You can also try if if you're worried about your supply. You can try power pumping kind of while you're gone, like in the evening maybe. Mm-hmm. What can you tell us about power pumping, Dianne?
Yes, power pumping is when you just hook up your pump for 10 minutes, and then take a 10-minute break, go do something else, watch TV, whatever, but keep your pump set up. And then 10 minutes later, after that 10 minutes goes by, pump for another 10 minutes. So you're pumping 10 minutes on and 10 minutes off for a full hour. And it's just constant stimulation. And when you do that several days, over several days, it's going to increase your milk supply for sure. And you're going to get more milk. Yeah.
It's kind of like mimicking your baby, what your baby will do with the, frequent nursing.
Yeah, with cluster feeds. Yeah, yeah.
Cluster feeding, yes.
Yeah, yeah. It's great. And if you're just kind of hanging out, killing time because you're traveling, maybe if you are alone or whatever, then that's that's not going to hurt anything. You're sitting in a hotel and watching TV or something. Why not?
Right. And the stimulation, and if you're stressing out about if you're having a really stressful time and there's not a lot of milk coming out, it's okay, because the stimulation in and of itself will help keep up your supply.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay, well, I think that's all I have. What else do we have about traveling with pumping?
That's that's the biggest thing. Yeah, because usually the
Yeah.
biggest concerns that we hear are, how do I store it? How do I get it back home? What do I do? What do I do if I can't find a place to pump where I am? And, really, you might really just have to be an advocate for yourself. And, remember, pumping for your job, especially if this is a work-related thing, pumping is, legal for work. And just because you're not in your workplace, you're gone for work. So I would think that would still count.
Yes.
Be an advocate. That's all.
Yeah, you're going to have to, you might be doing things that your employer or even a TSA agent hasn't seen before.
Right.
So you might need to be walking people through some things and, just push through. Because you can't, all of this stuff is legal and allowed and written.
Mm-hmm. Think of it as paving the way for the next mama to come by,
Yes.
The next group of parents that need that path being paved for them.
Exactly.
Yeah. So good luck.
Well, yes, thank you for listening. If you have any questions, let us know. We'll try to help you out. And we'll see you next week.
See ya. Bye.
Bye.